Hey, Queen City Gaming fans. So welcome back to today, guys. So sorry for the delay for this. Sadly, I've had a lot of things going on in my personal life and haven't had a chance to make some videos. But we're finally back, guys. We're looking at the whatchamadoodles, the Ossiarch Bonereapers. So last time, guys, we went over all the artifacts, the command traits, and the spell lores. Today, we're going over the War Scroll cards, starting with the named characters. So the first one, guys, is the big baddie, Catacross. He was featured in a lot of tournaments that have been seen, as well as in the new, brand new book that just came out from Games Workshop. Hold on, I got it right here. What's the name of this book? Not Slaves to Darkness. Wrath of the Ever-Chosen. That's the name of the book. And we're going to look at that one soon, because after this book, guys, I kind of want to go into the Slaves of Darkness book. I had a lot of questions that came up from the YouTube battle reports, so it'd be a perfect time to take a look at those. But looking at Catacross, right, he's kind of the Mortarch of the Ossiarch Bonereapers, the big baddie, the undefeated. But really, he's not undefeated. He's been defeated like 3 or 4 times at this point. So, Mr. Catacross is how many points? Ooh, he's like 500 points. All right, he's going to make up a big chunk of your army, but at 20 wounds, it's going to take a little bit, unless you're Arcon, to remove him from the table. He has a 4-inch move, which is about in line with some of the models in this book. The Bonereapers are not the fastest models, and are not the fastest range out there in the Warhammer world, and we kind of talked about this with their what's it called? Their version of the command points. Their martial discipline. That's it. Alrighty, guys. But so if you use that, he can go up to a base move of 7. You combine it with the 6 for a run. And he's, max range of like 13 inches, which isn't bad. It takes a lot of setup, but it could be there. Oh, so sorry, folks. He has a 3+ save. He has a bravery of 10. And if you look at his weapons list, guys, it is huge. All right, if we look at his model itself, where is his model? Right here. All right, his model is actually made up of 5 different individual models, with Catacross being the big guy in the center, and then he has all 4 advisors on here. So all these weapons are for his advisors and everything, and Catacross is kind of a different type of model, as when he's at full wounds, he gets all his advisor attacks, but Catacross himself doesn't really do much. Then when you get kind of into that last tier, he kind of starts kicking butt. All right, because Catacross is like, oh, you're a worthy opponent. I'm going to beat you with my shield. Alrighty. So, guys, his wound track's really important. At 0 to 1 wounds, he gets all of these attacks, but he only gets 1 attack with his Indat Cadet, which is his, like, big sword thing, and it's kind of his big attack. It's a 1-inch range, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -3 rend and 3 damage. That is huge. That's a ton of damage that can go out. And then he also has, what's the name of this? The Shield Immortus. All right, it's also Catacross's big shield he carries. It's 1-inch range, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -2 rend, 2 damage. All right, when he goes up to his 4 attacks with both of those weapons, he can put out a ton by himself, but he doesn't do that until he's taken 13 wounds. All right, at 1 to 3 wounds, you get the Prime Necropolis, all right, the Aviarch Spymaster, and the Legion Mortis. All right, at 4 to 8, you only get the Aviarch Spymaster and the Legion Mortis, and 8 to 12, you only get the Legion Mortis, plus Catacross's stuff. And then his attacks go up with the Indent Cat, which 1, 1, 2, 2, 4, and then the Shield of Mortis, you can't even use it till he's in that final bracket, and he gets 4 attacks with it. So, pretty cool. So, when we look at the individual rules, so he has the companion rules, which kind of list what all weapons go with each one. So, Catacross is accompanied by the Gnosis Skullbringer that attacks with the Nadendrite Dagger. All right, he's kind of the first one to die, essentially. So he has 1 attack, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. Nothing too crazy, but he also has the Dendrite weapons, where if he hits on a 6, it's 2 hits rather than 1. Make a wound roll for each. All right. Then you also have the Prime Necrophorus that attacks with the Soul Reaver Great Blade. All right. The Soul Reaver Great Blade, 3 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. Not too bad. All right. Then the Ossiarch Spymaster, which is really cool. He's got like the little bird-headed minion thing. He's really neat. All right. Attacks with the Spirit Dagger. So 1 inch range, 3 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, 1 damage. All right. And then the Liege of Mortis attacks with the Dendrite Dueling Blades. All right. And the Dueling Blades are 6 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, 1 damage, which is really cool. All right. And then he gets, since it's an Dendrite weapon, he gets the bonuses of on a 6 to hit. Okay. So then you also gain a couple other bonuses in there. So some of his abilities are Deadly Combination. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with the Shield of Mortis is a 6, that attack inflicts 2 mortal wounds in addition to any normal damage, which is great. But at the same time, you can't use a Shield of Mortis until he has 13 wounds on him. So it's kind of very situational. Alright, Mortarch of the Necropolis. At the start of the hero phase, if this model is on the battlefield, you can pick up to 3 different friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper units holding within 24 inches of this model. Now remember guys, it doesn't say summonable, so it can just be any Ossiarch Bonereaper models. For each of those units, you can either heal up to 3 wounds allocated to that unit, or if no wounds are allocated to it, you can return a number of slain models to that unit with a combined wound characteristics of 3 or less. So you can bring back some models with this, but you have to be careful because some units, like your cavalry, if they have just 1 wound off of them, you can only heal that 1 wound. You can't bring back another model with 2 wounds remaining. All right. So you kind of have to be tactical how you use these. All right. The Dendrite weapons, same as everything else. When you roll a 6 to hit, you make 2 attacks. You have to roll the wound roll separately. Okay. And you see this on a lot of different models within this army. All right, mainly the Mortarch Guard, some of the lances for the Cavallos, everything like that. So his command ability is Endless Duty. You use this command ability in your shooting phase or any combat phase. Pick 1 Ossiarch Bonereaper model or Bonereaper unit wholly within 12 inches of a model with this command ability. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of a weapon used in that phase. You cannot pick the same unit to benefit from this command ability more than once per phase. Now, the Liege Cavallos, let me find him in here, also has a very similar ability. All right, but his is called Endless. Well, they're both called Endless Duty. So you cannot have Catacross and the Liege Cavallos since it's the exact same ability used twice on the same unit. All right, a little bit of balance in there. All right, Supreme Lord of Bonereaper Legions. Use this command ability in your hero phase if Catacross is your general. If you do so until your next hero phase, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Bonereaper units while they are wholly within 18 inches of this model. Add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target friendly Mortis Praetorian units. All right, if they are wholly within 18 inches of this model. Now remember, you do have different legions you can choose from. Mortis Praetorians is actually what Catacross leads, but Catacross can be used in any legion out there. But you do gain a pretty cool bonus of that +1 to save if you're within 18 inches of Catacross, making this a great ability. Just remember, guys, when you're using some of your abilities with your other units, they say like unmodified hit roll of a 6 causes this ability. That would mean you don't use this +1 to trigger that ability, but you still get the +1 to hit. Okay. So companion abilities. The Ossiarch Spymaster. Once per turn, you can reroll dice if you can roll a dice when your opponent receives a command point. If you do so on a 4+, the command point is lost. That's great. I love that you can mess with your opponent in his phase. Okay, and there's no way he can really deal with that, which is great because some armies really rely on command points, and it can be hard for them to gain command points. So taking away that precious resource that's really hard to really even get in this game is a fantastic ability. All right, Geonosis Skullbringer. This is the first guy that dies. Alright, at the start of your hero phase, you can pick one enemy unit that is on the battlefield. Until your next hero phase, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit that targets friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers. Okay, that's pretty neat. Okay, and it's the whole battlefield. It's not just like 18 inches or anything like this. So you just pick a unit. That unit is -1 to hit. Right, that can be really, really cool, especially if you got like a big bad hero or a big unit of Chaos Warriors or a big unit of Stormcast or just some big bag thing running towards you. You can use that to kind of debuff them a little bit. Now just remember though, he loses this model once he takes a wound. Okay, so 1 wound, unit is gone, or ability's gone. Alright, Prime Necrophorus. When you use this model's Supreme Lord of the Bonereaper Legion's command ability, it affects friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper units while they are wholly within 36 inches of this model instead of wholly within 18 inches of this model. That's pretty good. And that's the Prime Necrophorus. That's the big guy with the banner. So you don't lose him until he takes 4 wounds. So when this guy's really tooled up and really high on his wounds, he's a really good like buff debuff model. And then when he gets down to that 13 wound mark, he's just a beat stick and goes in there and just destroys things. Because then he's going to have a 2-up save for being a Legion Praetorian, and he's going to be +1 to hit. So all his hits are going to be on a 2+ when you use that Supreme Lord of the Bonereapers Legion ability. So he's going to be hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s, and at minimum -2 rend with a flat 2 to 3 damage, which is absolutely insane. He's an absolute great model, but the problem with him is he has so many points. You really have to build your force around Catacross rather than having him be an accent to the force itself. I see a lot of Catacross played with just large units of Mortec Guard, which are your basic skeletons, and it kind of works out because he buffs them really well, makes it to where they kind of hit a little better, and they have some survivability. All right, so really cool guy. All right, now into the man, the myth, the legend, the master of death and destruction himself, Mr. Nagesh. Now, this book, he is different than other books. All right, in this book, he's 880 points. It is not like his War Scroll in the Legions of the Nagesh book. And remember, you always use the most recent version of his War Scroll. All right, so Nagesh has 16 wounds, 9-inch move, 3+ save, 10 bravery. All right, he has a Gaze of Nagesh, which is a 12-inch range, 1 attack, 3 to hit, 2 to wound, 1 rend, d6 damage. All right, and then he has the Alakanesh, which is a 3-inch range melee weapon, 1 attack, 3 to hit, 2 to wound, -3 rend, d6 damage. That's pretty good. Just wish it had more than 1 attack. All right, the Nefet Nebatar, right, which kind of is a 2-inch range, varies in attacks going from 6 all the way down to 2, which is a 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -2 rend, 3 damage, which is really good. And then the Spectral Claws and Daggers, which is 1-inch range, 6 attacks, 5s to wound, or 5s to hit, 4s to wound, 1 to rend. Those are like his spirits that are like, let's show you the actual model, and I can kind of show you what I mean by his spirits. For those of you who don't know the Nagesh model, he has a large amount of spirits kind of around him, and that's what that attack represents. It's kind of the spirits lashing out that he uses to kind of float and empower himself. Alright, so his companions are the spirits, and they attack with their spectral daggers and claws. He can fly, which is really great. So he can be used in the new flying battles that released in the Aether War box. Alright, so Alakanesh, the Staff of Power, this is his, and I don't even think he's shown with it. Where'd that picture go? No, but that's his staff. He has a big old Staff of Power he can carry around, which is really cool, and it's a really great piece to show off. There it is. There's his big staff right there that he can hold. The model kind of has some dual posability, where you can kind of change his book to be a spirit, or you can change this to be a sword. You kind of choose which one you like. So add the power values shown on this model's damage table to casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls for this model. So let's see here. Staff of power right here. So at 0 to 3 wounds, he gets +3, +3, +3 to cast, +3 to unbind. At 4 to 6, +3 to cast, +2 to unbind. 7 to 10, +2 to cast, +2 to unbind or dispel. 11 to 13 is +2 to cast, +1 to unbind or dispel. Plus at 14 or more, +1 cast, +1 to unbind or dispel, which is a key difference because dispelling is... So unbinding and dispelling are two totally different things. Guys, remember bonuses are very key to keywords within this game. Now, most wizards only get bonuses to dispelling spells, but he gets bonuses to unbinding, which is where you get rid of endless spells during your turn. So that's a great benefit for this model. He's kind of like the ultimate caster, but he's also 800 points, and he's also a god, so there's a reason why. All right. So, in addition, this model can attempt to cast Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield any number of times in the same hero phase, even if another wizard has already attempted to cast the spell in that phase, which is great. Because we're going to learn here in just a minute when we look at the 9 books, well, let's look at it now. So the 9 books of Nagesh is another one of his abilities, and it gains bonuses here. Basically, these are the books Nagesh used in the old world where he learned about magic. But these books let you cast extra spells. So the 9 books of Nagesh allow Nagesh to cast extra spells in your hero phase and unbind extra spells in the enemy hero phase. The number of extra spells he can attempt to cast or unbind is shown on the model's damage table. Starts at 4, goes down to 1 in each band. All right, it kind of reduces by 1. So at most, he's going to be casting 8 spells. All right, which is weird because he has 9 books, but you know it is what it is. All right, but even 8 spells, that's kind of crazy because that's a lot of Mortal Wound output with Arcane Bolt alone. Alrighty, so Invocation of Nagesh is one of his other abilities. At the start of your hero phase, if this model is on the battlefield, you pick 5 different friendly summonable units or friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper units in any combination. Then you can either heal 3 wounds or resurrect models up to 3 wounds. So that'd be like bringing 3 regular skeletons back or bringing back 1 Death Rider Cavallos. Okay, really, really good ability, and he picks 5 of them. And basically, it's anywhere on the battlefield. So he's just bringing stuff back, which is crazy. All right, Frightful Touch. The unmodified hit roll for an attack made with this model's Spectral Dagger is a 6. It inflicts 1 mortal wound. This is a really common rule you see on a lot of like Night Haunt ghosty models, which kind of helps. But if you roll that 6, you do a mortal wound, and then that's it. You don't roll a wound with that dice. Just does the 1 mortal wound, and then it's over. All right. Alright, Morkan. So, this is his armor. You roll dice each time a mortal wound is, you allocate a mortal wound to this model. On a 1 to 3, nothing happens. On a 4 to 5, it's negated. And on a 6, the attacker suffers the mortal wound instead, which is really great. Alright, it's kind of like the Chaos Warriors where you shoot the spell, or you shoot the mortal wound back to them. Alright, the 9 books of Nagesh we already talked about. Now, Nagesh is a wizard. He casts 3 spells. Okay, he knows Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, Hand of Dust, and Soul Stealer. Okay, he also knows all the spells of the Ossiarch Bonereapers. Now, if you're just looking at Nagesh himself, his spells can change based off which book he's taken in. In Allegiance of Nagesh, he knows all the spells from the Lore of Death and all the spells of all the Death Wizards on the table. In this book, he's a little bit different. So, kind of interesting to know. All right, so Hand of Dust is one of his spells. It's kind of funny. So, Hand of Dust has a casting value of 8. You pick 1 enemy model, and it's very specific. It says model within 3 inches of the caster. All right, you take a dice and hide it in one of your hands, and your opponent must pick one of your hands. If they pick the one holding the dice, the spell has no effect. If they pick the empty hand, the enemy model is slain. So, at CanCon, the the new Tzeentch book came out, and they allowed the new Tzeentch book. At CamCon, a it's kind of hilarious. The changeling was used by an opponent. He teleported within 9 inches of Nagesh and cast the Bell and Vortex, the big like tornado thing, and he set the model on top of it. So that extends the range of spells. So he got it to where he could be within range of Nagesh with this spell. Within range of Nagesh, and then the changeling can steal spells from opponents, so he stole the Hand of Dust. And he basically Hand of Dusted Nagesh. Nagesh failed to unbind it, and Nagesh actually ended up dying from his own Hand of Dust spell from a changeling. It's great, it's insane, it's really cool, something to watch out for if you are a Nagesh player. Watch out for the changeling. Just turbo murdering you with your own spell. Alright, but the spell itself, guys, is fantastic, especially if you're coming against a big bad. That's something like a monster or a hero, something that is a single model that you need taken out pretty quickly. You can cast this spell, and you have basically a 50-50 shot of just wiping it off the table one turn. And it's not that it just takes damage. No, it's just slain outright. Really cool ability, and one of my favorite things about Nagesh. Now, to use this, you pretty much have to be in combat with Nagesh, but still pretty neat. Alright, Soul Stealer. So this is his second kind of unique spell, and it has a casting value of a 6. Pick one enemy unit wholly within 24 inches of the caster and is visible to them. Roll 2d6 if the number is greater than the unit's bravery characteristic, it suffers d3 mortal wounds. If the roll is at least double that unit's bravery characteristic, it suffers d6 mortal wounds instead. You can heal one wound that has been allocated to the caster for each model, or each mortal wound inflicted by this spell that is not negated. That's a great spell, especially if you need to heal back some wounds later on in the game. Alright, so his command ability is Supreme Lord of the Undead. Use this command ability in your hero phase. If this model is on the battlefield, if you do so until your next hero phase, you can re-roll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly death units. You can re-roll save rolls of 1 for attacks that target friendly death units, and do not take battle shock test for friendly death units. So, in Ossiarch Bonereapers, this isn't a huge deal as far as the battle shock goes with this command ability, but the re-roll save rolls of 1s and attacks for 1s is a really great spell to have. Not spell, command ability to have, and can really buff the units around you. The only problem is, if you're taking an 800-point Nagesh model, you really don't have that many other units to play around with. So some of the big lists that use Nagesh that have worked really well are taking the, where are they at so I can show them to you. Not the Mortar Guard. These guys, the Cavallo's Death Riders, using them as your battle line. They're a fast unit, so they can get around and hold objectives, while Nagesh goes in there and just beats things to death. Alright, so, and Nagesh has a lot of different ways to play. It's usually all magic-based. Casts a lot of endless spells, or he kind of focuses on one unit, and just arcane bolts them off the table. Alright, so, pretty cool guy to talk about. Okay. We have 1, 2, 3? Yeah, 3 more guys to look at. Alright, so our next one, which is kind of a crossover from the old world, that's the best way to put it, from the old world, is Arcon the Black. Remember, he was an old Tomb King character that kind of came over to the old world. He was like the chosen of Nagesh. So he is back. He is a Mortarch, and he's found in 2 books. So he's found in the Ossiarch Bonereapers book, and he is also found in the Legions of Nagesh book. And he actually has his own kind of legion, and they're very magic based. So he's very magic based. And I'm looking up his where is it at? Where is it at? There we go. Ossiarch Bonereapers FAQ. Now, guys, he had some changes. Now, I'm trying to make sure I have this right. because of the changes he had, it kind of affects his spells. Not that. And where's it at? Because it kind of came up in our battle report, if y'all saw it. Okay. Well, I can't find it, but we'll kind of talk about his war scroll and how it is right now. So, Arcon the Black, he has 11 wounds. His move changes based off his kind of profile, starting at 16 wounds, going down to 4. Okay? 4 plus save, 10 bravery. He's a really cool character, and he's one of kind of like... He's kind of like my go-to with my Bone Reapers. I love playing with him because he's that in-between of Nagesh and kind of a generic character. And his points aren't that bad. So, Arcon the Black is 360 points. He's still a decent investment, but he's great for what you get. Okay, so he has 4 ranged weapons. He has the Zephyt Car, okay, which, let's make sure, so he is armed, so Arcon the Black is armed with the Zephyt Car and the Keneshan. His mount is armed with the Ebon Claws, and then his companions are armed with the Spectral Claws and daggers, just like Nagesh. So his weapons aren't super impressive. His first one's 1 attack, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, 1 rend, D3 damage. His second one is a 2-inch range, 1 attack, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, 1 rend, D3 damage. He's not a meleeer, guys. All right. Now, his mount has Ebon Claws, and they start with 6 attacks and go down to 2. They hit on 4s, wound on 3s, minus 2 rend, 2 damage. That's kind of where you're going to get your damage in a melee. And then he has the Spectral Claws and Daggers, which are kind of the spirits around him. 6 attacks, 5s to hit, 4s to wound, 1 damage. Roll a 6 to hit, does a mortal wound, but then the rolls stop after that for that 6. So you can kind of get some mortal wounds in there with it, but it's not super reliable. Alright, so for his abilities, he has Feaster of Souls. At the end of the combat phase, if an enemy model were slain by wounds inflicted by models or by this model's attacks, you can heal up to 2 wounds located in this model, which is pretty good. With only 11 wounds, he kind of needs a healing mechanic to kind of help himself out. Alright, Frightful Touch. If the unmodified hit roll for the Spectral Claws and Dagger is a 6, you do the mortal wound, kind of like we said before. Alright, Staff of Spirits. You use the value shown, which is bonuses to bind or to cast spells, unbind, and dispel. So at max, he gets +2 to cast, +2 to unbind or dispel, and at the bare minimum, he goes to no bonuses when he's at 9 wound threshold. Kind of like Nagesh, but not as great. Okay, he can also cast Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield any number of times in the same hero phase, even if another wizard has already attempted to cast a spell in that phase, which is pretty good. All right, he is the Mortarch of Sacrament. At the start of your hero phase, he can heal summonable units or Ossiarch Bonereaper units. Okay, he can do 4 models. That's why I say he's like a good in-between. So he can heal up to 4 units that are wholly within 24 inches. And they either do heal 3 wounds or bring back models up to 3 wounds. Okay, just remember, same thing with Catacross. If you heal a wound on a model, you can't use the other 2 wounds to bring back another unit with 2 wounds. Okay, so easy peasy. All right, he can cast 3 spells in your hero phase and unbind 3 spells in the enemy hero phase. He knows Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and Curse of Years. So Curse of Years is the spell that's just like, oh my god, you're going to murder things with this. And should be the first thing you unbind if you ever play against him. So you pick an enemy unit within range 18, and it has a casting value of 6. You roll 10 dice. For each 6, you roll 1 mortal wound, and you can roll an extra dice. On that extra dice, on a 5 up, you do a mortal wound, and then you roll another dice if you roll the 5 up. And on a 4 plus, it suffers 1 mortal wound. Yep. Alright, so you keep rolling dice in this way, inflicting mortal wounds and reducing the roll needed caused by 1 each time until either no wounds are inflicted or the target unit is destroyed. A roll of a 1 always fails, which I don't know if you saw in the battle report where I took him. I ended up doing like 30 mortal wounds onto a mega boss and just wiping it off the table. I wish I would have been able to do that with with the brute set were next to him, but I didn't think ahead. I should have done it on that. All right, but a fantastic spell, guys, and one you're absolutely going to murder people with. All right, so his command ability is First of the Mortarchs. All right, you use this command ability to start your hero phase if this model is on the battlefield. If you do so until the end of that phase, you can add 6 inches to the range of spells cast by friendly death wizards while they're within 18 inches of this model. You cannot pick the same unit to benefit from this command ability more than once. Okay, that's pretty great. So he just adds 6 inches to your spells, which is really cool. I really, really love him in game. He's got great bonuses, and he's not a super ton of points, which is fantastic. All right, now we're getting into the last kind of 2 characters, and they are all Mortis Praetorians, which is the same as Catacross' kind of Legion. Okay, so you have Cavallo's Lantus. I think that's how you spell that or say that. So I don't think I've ever seen him used in a game, to be honest with you. You see a lot more just the generic Liege Cavallos instead of him. He's basically a named Liege Cavallos that is kind of meant to be the opposite of Vandus Hammerhand from the Legions, from the Stormcast army. But he has 7 wounds, 12 move, 3+ save, 10 bravery. All right, his weapons he has, so him himself, he has the Dark Lance, which is a 2-inch range, 3s to hit, 3 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, 2 damage. His Battle Shield has 1 attack, a 3 to hit, a 4 to wound, no rend, 1 damage. And then his mount has hooves, teeth, and barbed tail. Remember, guys, mounts always do more than the actual model. 6 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, 1 damage, which is pretty good, I must say. All right. So where are we at? Right here. The Dark Lance. So this is his weapon. The Dark Lance has a damage characteristics of 3 instead of 2 if this model made a charge move in the same turn, which is pretty crazy. Alright, it kind of adds a little bit of extra damage to him, but I'm going to be honest with you, at only 7 wounds, he's not really going to be the big bad meleeer because he's going to charge in there and probably get wounded to death if he gets swarmed. Alright, Hatred of the Living. Reroll rolls of 1 for attacks made by models that target order and destruction units. You can reroll wound rolls for attacks made by this model that target chaos units. So a little bit of buff in there, but again, you don't get any buff if you're fighting the dead. Alright, Unstoppable Charge. After this model makes a charge move, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of this model, roll a number of dice equal to the charge roll for that move. For each 6, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. In addition, this model can move an extra 3 inches when it piles in if it made a charge move in the same turn. So you're basically charging in, doing a 6-inch pile in, and you're doing some mortal wound damage, which isn't bad. All right, it's kind of a nice little bonus, very similar to what the ogres do in their new book. All right, his command abilities is Endless Duty. You can use this command ability in your shooting phase or combat phase. If you do so, pick 1 friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit that is wholly within 12 inches of a model with this command ability. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of weapons used by that unit in that phase. Great ability. Right? It's even better on the catapults. Kind of as you saw, guys. Catapults are nasty with this. Alright, great ability. Great. Love it. Alright. In the battle report I did, when I played my generic Liege Cavallos, I held him back and only used him on use that ability on the catapult itself. I kind of don't think that's really worth it. I feel like using this ability on Spear Mortet Guard or on your Death Rider Cavallos are a lot better than the catapult. But it still works well on the catapult. If it worked with a special issue ammunition, it would definitely be worth it, but it's not. All right. So Still Their Breath. You can use this command ability in your shooting phase or any combat phase. Pick one friendly Mortis Praetorian unit that is wholly within 24 inches of this model. Reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by this unit that target order and destruction units. You can reroll any wound rolls for attacks made by that unit that target chaos units. So it's kind of like his Hatred of the Living, but this is an ability that you can spread using your martial prowess points or whatever they're called. Okay, overall, guys, he's okay, but he kind of gets beat out. I mean, if we look at his points, Arch Cavallo Santoros, he's 220 points, which is a lot, and especially when the Liege Cavallos is only 200 points. That 20 extra points is a big deal, and I just don't see the benefits of using him over the generic one. A lot of armies aren't even using the Liege Cavallos anymore. They're just using Soul Masons or the Bonereapers, or the Bone Masons. Alright, so our last kind of named character is Bach Morton. He is from the, what's it called, the Feast of Bones book that came out. So he's 180 points. He got a little better with the FAQ that came out. So it allows him now to take spells from the spell lore, which is really great. So he's 180 points. He's 6 wounds, 5 inch move, 5 save, 10 bravery. He has a missile weapon of the Gaze of Death, 12 inch range, 1 attack, 3 to hit, 2 to wound, 1 rend, D3 damage. The Staff of Retribution, which is a 2 inch range, 2 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, 1 rend, D3 damage. Alright, and he is, he's in a weird spot, I'm not going to lie. So, there are models that do the same thing as him, kind of better per points than him, right? The Soul Mason itself is better than this guy, and I would rather take a Soul Mason than him. So he does have some abilities, but they're not really the best. So Contract and Nagesh at the start of your combat phase, roll a dice. On a 5+, you can pick one enemy model within 3 inches of Bach Morton. The enemy model cannot attack Bach Morton in that combat phase. So Ash from Guerrilla Miniatures, he did a battle report where they kind of played one of the scenarios from the game, and the what's it called? The big cannon chariot for ogres kind of charged into Bach Morton, and he kept using this ability, or Ash did, and Ash was playing the ogres, but the guy from Gaming with the Cooler, he kept attacking or using this ability to kind of keep him alive. The problem with this ability, it's on a 5-up, and it's only 1 unit. So it's not reliable, but it's great when it happens. Alright, Grim Warnings. So subtract 1 from bravery characteristics of enemy units while they are within 12 inches of this model. Subtract 1 from the unbinding rolls for wizards attempting to unbind spells cast by this model. If an army general is slain within 3 inches of this model for the rest of the battle, subtract 2 from the bravery characteristics of units within 12 inches of this model instead of 1, and subtract 2 from unbinding rolls of wizards attempting to unbind a spell cast by this model instead of 1. So it's okay. It's a really limited range of 12, and he's not a fighty hero. He's one that's kind of going to be back a little bit, and you're going to use him as a spellcaster. So this is kind of worthless. I'm going to be honest with you. Both of these abilities just, his Contract in Nagesh isn't reliable, and Grim Warnings is just not an ability meant for him, right? Because of the 12-inch range. It's just going to be really hard to get that bonus. If you get it, great. The other problem is it affects bravery. Bravery right now is just overcome by command points. A lot of armies that are really hurt by bravery, like Gloomspite gets, they just use a command point to pass bravery tests anyway. So there's no point in this. Alright, so he is a wizard. He can attempt to cast 2 spells and unbind 2 spells in the hero phase. He knows Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield. And then his unique spell, which is Mortal Touch. So it's kind of like the baby Hand of Dust. It has a casting value of 8. Pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of this caster that is visible to them, and roll a dice. On a 5+, that model is slain. The range of this spell cannot be modified. So this this guy's really, really built wrong for what he does, for what he is. He's a caster that has a poor save and only 6 wounds. He doesn't have an ability to shut wounds off to other models around him. And his signature spell is a 1-inch range, so you're only going to use it in combat with him. Overall, he's just not that great. Yes, you can now take another spell from the Realm Lords, but at the same time, that's not enough to fix him. So you just don't see him. I have him painted, but I don't use him because he's really not that great. Even with Mortis Praetorians getting bonuses, they're still just not amazing. Okay? But guys, that is all the special characters for the Ossiarch Bonereapers. I do want to thank you guys for sticking around. Thank y'all for listening to us kind of talk these out. As we get more into this series, we'll kind of go over some tactics and everything involved. But I've had so much fun looking at these and talking to you about them. Thank you so much for stopping by, guys. This is Queen City Gaming, signing out. Bye, folks. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you so much for watching today. Remember to come on back, guys, for Mo Tactical Monday, where we go over book reviews, tactics, recent tournaments. Then we also have Whatever Wednesday, where I post whatever I want. Alright, and Saturday is Sigmar Saturday, where we post videos about the Age of Sigmar and the wonderful game that it is. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for some more great videos. Queen City Gaming, signing out.